This is a timeline of events that occurred during 1944 in World War II. January 1944. 4. The First Ukrainian Front of the Red Army enters Poland. 9. British forces take Mongdor, Burma, a critical port for Allied supplies. 12. Count Ciano, the Italian foreign minister and Mussolini's son-in-law, is executed by Mussolini's revived fascist government sympathizers. 17. The First Battle of Monte Cassino begins when the British 10th Corps attacks along the Garigliano River at the western end of the German Gustav Line. 19. Red Army troops push westward toward the Baltic countries. British Operation Outward accidentally claims lives in Sweden by causing a train crash by knocking out Lighting 20. The Royal Air Force drops 2,300 tons of bombs on Berlin. The U.S. Army 36th Infantry Division, in Italy, attempts to cross the Garry River, but suffers heavy losses. 22. Allies begin Operation Shingle, the landing at Anzio, Italy, commanded by American Major General John P. Lucas. The Allies hope to break the stalemate in South Italy, but they are unable to break out of the beachhead and the line holds until late May. 23. The British destroyer HMS Janus is sank off Anzio. 24. The Allied forces have a major setback on the Garry River. 28. The Russian army completes encirclement of two German army corps at the Korsun pocket, south of Kiev. Two-thirds of the Germans escape in the breakout next month with the loss of most heavy equipment. 30. United States troops invade Majuro, Marshall Islands. Japanese kill 44 suspected spies in the Humphrey Ganj massacre. The Brazzaville Conference begins in French Equatorial Africa. During the conference, the French Committee of National Liberation agrees to major reforms to the French colonial empire. 31. American forces land on Kwajalein Atoll and other islands in the Japanese-held Marshall Islands. February 1944. 1. U.S. Marines mop up on War and Namor in the north part of the Kwajalein Atoll. 2. The Narva front near the east border of Estonia is formed between the Soviet and German forces. Germans defeat American troops in the Battle of Cisterna near Anzio. 3. American planes bomb Eniwetok in the Marshalls, later to be a major B-29 base. 4. Kwajalein, the world's largest atoll and a major Japanese naval base, is secured. 5. The American Navy bombards the Kuril Islands, northernmost in the Japanese homelands. 7. In a radio interview, the last Estonian Prime Minister Uriel Liuos, as acting head of state, supports mobilization. 8. The plan for the invasion of France, Operation Overlord, is confirmed. 10. Winston Churchill urges Harold Alexander to order the Anzio generals to show more aggression. 11. German forces sent to relieve the Korsun pocket in Ukraine are now only 10 miles away. 14. The Russian 374th Rifle Regiment forms a bridgehead on the western shore of Lake Peipus. The molecular landing operation of the special unit of the Soviet Baltic Sea Fleet in the rear of the Germans at the Narva front at Marekula is resisted. The underground organization, the National Committee of the Republic of Estonia, is formed in Tallinn. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force Headquarters are established in Britain by U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower. An anti-Japanese revolt on Java occurs. 15. The Second Battle of Monte Cassino begins with the destruction of the historic Benedictine monastery on Monte Cassino by Allied bombing. The Allies believed the grounds were used as an observation post by the Germans. The Soviet bridgehead on the west coast of Lake Peipus is annihilated. Soviet Leningrad front initiates the Narva offensive February 15 to 28. 16. Germans launch a major counter-attack at Anzio, threatening the American beachhead. Germans, with panzer forces leading, fail to break out of the Korsun pocket. Diplomats from the USSR and Finland meet to sign an armistice. 17. American Marines land on Eniwetok. 18. The light cruiser HMS Penelope is torpedoed and sunk off the coast of Anzio with a loss of 415 crew. American naval air raid takes place on the Truk Islands, a major Japanese naval base, but they will be one of the bypassed fortresses of the Japanese outer defense ring. 19. Leipzig, Germany is bombed for 2 straight nights. This marks the beginning of a Big Wick bombing campaign against German industrial cities by Allied bombers. 20. A colonial military garrison in Luluaburg in the Belgian Congo mutinies, killing 3. 22. John Lucas is replaced with Major General Lucien Truscott at Anzio. 23. U.S. Navy planes attack the Mariana Islands of Saipan, Guam and Tinian. 26. The Big Wick bombing campaign comes to a successful conclusion. The American P-51 Mustang fighter with its long range proves invaluable in protecting American bombers over Germany. Red Air Force continues to bomb Helsinki, as Finland continues peace talks. 27. Uskod sinks a Japanese merchant ship by torpedo. 28. The Admiralty Islands are invaded by U.S. forces, marked by the Battle of Los Negros and Operation Brewer. The struggle for this important fleet anchorage will continue until May. Rabaul is now completely isolated. Belgian industrialist Alexander Galopin is assassinated in occupied Belgium by Flemish paramilitaries. March 1944. 1. The keels of Ustarawa and Uskursurge are laid down. Anti-fascist strikes occur in northern Italy. Leningrad Front initiate the Narva offensive, March 1, 4, 3. German forces around Anzio, having failed to drive the Allies from the beachhead, go over to a defensive posture. 6. Wingate's Chindits make several successful forays in Burma. The Soviet Air Force bombs Narva. The city is destroyed. The Leningrad Front initiates the Narva offensive, March 6–24. The Australians receive faulty intelligence that the Japanese are about to mount an attack on Western Australia, causing them to greatly bolster defences there. When no attack comes, they return to their regular stations on the 20th. 7. Japanese begin an invasion attempt on India, starting a 4-month battle around Imphal. 8. American forces are attacked by Japanese troops on Hill 700 in the Bougainville, the battle that will last 5 days. A Red Army offensive on a wide front west of the Dnieper in the Ukraine forces the Germans into a major retreat. 9. The Soviet long-range aviation carries out an air raid on Tallinn, Estonia. The military objects are almost untouched. Approx. 800 civilians die and 20,000 people are left without a shelter. 12. The creation of the Political Committee of National Liberation in Greece. 13. On Bougainville, Japanese troops end a failed assault on American forces at Hill 700. 15. The Third Battle of Monte Cassino begins. The small town of Cassino is destroyed by Allied bombers. Americans take Manus Island in the Admiralty chain. The National Council of the French Resistance approves the resistance program. 16. United States 11th Corps arrives in Pacific Theater. 17. Heavy bombing of Vienna, Austria. 18. The Red Army approach Romanian border. 19. German forces occupy Hungary in Operation Margareta. Yugoslav partisans attack Trieste, on the border of Italy and Slovenia. 20. Red Army advances in the Ukraine continue with great success. 21. Finland rejects Soviet peace terms. 22. Japanese forces cross the Indian border all along the Imphal front. Frankfurt is bombed with heavy civilian losses. 24. The Fossati Tina massacre in Rome, Italy. 335 Italians are killed, including 75 Jews and over 200 members various groups in the Italian resistance. This is a German response to a bomb blast that killed German troops. Order Wingate is killed in a plane crash. Heavy bombings of German cities at various strategic locations last for 24 hours. 25. Soviet Air Force bombs the city of Tartu, Estonia. 26. On Narva front, Strachwitz offensive destroys part of the Soviet bridgehead. 28. Japanese troops are in retreat in Burma. 30. RAF suffers grievous losses in a huge air raid on Nuremberg, April 1944. 3. Allied bombers hit Budapest in Hungary, now occupied by the Germans, and Bucharest in Romania, ahead of the advancing Red Army. 4. General Charles de Gaulle takes command of all Free French forces. 5. U.S. Air Force bombs Ploster oil fields in Romania, with heavy losses. 6. The Japanese drive on the plain of Imphal, supposedly halted, proves strong enough to surround British forces at Imphal and Kohima, in India. 8. The Red Army attacks in an attempt to retake all of the Crimea, the Germans retreat westward to Sevastopol. 10. Soviet forces enter Odessa, Ukraine. 11. Soviet forces take Kerch, beginning the reconquest of Crimea. 15. Heavy air raids on Ploster oil fields by both the RAF and the U.S. Air Force. 16. Soviet forces take Yalta, most of Crimea is now liberated. 17. Japanese launch Operation Ichigo with over 600,000 men in central China. The objective is to conquer areas where American bombers are located. The first phase is the Battle of Central Henan. 21. The Badoglio government in Italy falls and he is quickly asked to form another. An Allied air raid on Paris kills a large number of civilians. 22. Operations Reckless and Persecution. U.S. troops land at Hollandia and Itape in northern New Guinea to cut off Japanese forces in Wewak. 24. British troops force open the road from Imphal to Kohima in India. 27. The Slapton Sands tragedy. American soldiers are killed in a training exercise in preparation for D-Day at Slapton in Devon. 30. Vast preparations for D-Day are going on all over southern England. American Navy air raids continue in the Carolina Islands, including Truk, May 1944. 6. Heavy Allied bombings of the continent in preparation for D-Day. 8. D-Day for Operation Overlord set for June 5. 9. Sevastopol in the Crimea is retaken by Soviet forces. 11. The Fourth Battle of Monte Cassino begins, led by General Anders of the 2nd Polish Corps. 12. Large numbers of Chinese troops invade northern Burma. 13. The entirety of Crimea is under Soviet control. Many thousands of German and Romanian soldiers have been captured, but many thousands have been evacuated. The bridgehead over the Gary River is reinforced. 18. The Battle of Monte Cassino ends in Allied victory. Polish troops of the 2nd Polish Corps led by General Władysław Anders capture Monte Cassino. German troops in West Italy have withdrawn to the Hitler Line. Allied troops take airfields at Myitkyina, Burma, an important airbase. The struggle over the city itself will continue for nearly 3 months. The last Japanese resistance in the Admiralty Islands, off New Guinea, comes to an end. 21. Increased Allied bombing of targets in France in preparation for D-Day. 23. Allies start a new breakout from Anzio. 25. Allies at Anzio link up with allies from South Italy. Though Harold Alexander wishes to trap the German 10th Army, American 5th Army commander Mark W. Clark orders Truscott to turn north toward Rome. The Germans in Italy form a new defensive position on the Caesar Sea Line. 27. Operation Hurricane starts. Americans land on Biak, Dutch New Guinea, a key Japanese airbase. Stubborn Japanese resistance until August. 31. The Japanese retreat from Imphal with heavy losses. Their invasion of India is over. June 1944. 2. The Provisional French government is established. The U.S. begins Operation Frantic with a bombing of Debrecen, Hungary. 3. There are daily bombings of the Cherbourg Peninsula and the Normandy area. 4. Allies enter Rome, one day after the Germans declared it an open city. German troops fall back to the Trasimene line. Operation Overlord is postponed 24 hours due to high seas. 5. Operation Overlord commences when more than 1,000 British bombers drop 5,000 tons of bombs on German gun batteries on the Normandy coast in preparation for D-Day, and the first Allied troops land in Normandy. Paratroopers are scattered from Caen southward. In the Pacific, the U.S. fleet transporting the expeditionary forces for the invasion of Saipan in the Mariana Islands leaves Pearl Harbor. 6. D-Day begins with the landing of 155,000 Allied troops on the beaches of Normandy in France. The Allied soldiers quickly break through the Atlantic Wall and push inland in the largest amphibious military operation in history. 7. Bayeux is liberated by British troops. 9. No agreement having been reached on their mutual borders, Joseph Stalin launches an offensive against Finland with the intent of defeating Finland before pushing for Berlin. 10. At Oradour-sur-Glane, France, 642 men, women, and children are killed in a German response to local resistance activities. In the Distimo massacre in Greece, 218 civilians are killed. 12. American aircraft carriers commence airstrikes on the Marianas, including Saipan, preparing for invasion. 13. Germany launches a V-1 flying bomb attack on England, in Hitler's view a kind of revenge for the invasion. He believes in Germany's victory with this secret weapon. The V-1 attacks will continue through June. The U.S. naval bombardment of Saipan begins. In response, Admiral Toyoda Soemyu, Commander-in-Chief of the Imperial Japanese Navy, orders his fleet to attack U.S. Navy forces around Saipan. 15. U.S. Marine and Army forces invade the island of Saipan. U.S. submarines sight the Japanese fleet en route. 17. Free French troops land on Elba. 18. Elba is declared liberated. Allies capture Assisi, Italy. 1920. The Battle of the Philippine Sea, nicknamed the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot by Americans, takes place. The United States Fifth Fleet wins a decisive naval battle over the Imperial Japanese Navy near the Mariana Islands. Over 200 Japanese planes are shot down while the Americans only lose 29 to enemy action. 19. A severe Channel storm destroys one of the Allies' Mulberry harbors in Normandy. The Red Army prepares for Operation Bagration, a huge offensive in Bielorussia. 20. The British take Perugia, Italy. The siege of Imphal is lifted after 3 months. 21. Allied offensive in Burma. 22. V-1s continue to hit England, especially London, sometimes with horrifying losses. Operation Bagration. General attack by Soviet forces to clear the German forces from Belarus. This results in the destruction of the German Army Group Center, possibly the greatest defeat of the Wehrmacht during World War II. In the Burma campaign, the Battle of Kohima ends with a British victory. 23. The National Committee of the Republic of Estonia makes a declaration to the Estonian people. The declaration was made public to the world press in Stockholm in July 1944 and in Tallinn on 1 August 1944. 25. The Battle of Talihintala between Finnish and Soviet troops begins. Largest battle ever to be fought in the Nordic countries. 26. Cherbourg is liberated by American troops. July 1944. 1. The Leningrad diarist Tanya Savacheva dies of starvation at the age of 14. Her diary of her family's death during the siege becomes famous. 2. V-1s continue to have devastating effects in southeast England in terms of material destruction and losses of life. 3. Minsk in Belarus is liberated by Soviet forces. The Allies find themselves in their Battle of the Hedgerows. as they are stymied by the agricultural hedges in western France which intelligence had not properly evaluated. Siena, Italy falls to Algerian troops of the French forces. 6. Largest banzai charge of the war. 4,300 Japanese troops are slaughtered on Saipan. 7. Soviet troops enter Vilnius, Lithuania. 9. After heavy resistance, France is liberated by the British troops on the left flank of the Allied advance. Saipan is declared secure, the Japanese having lost over 30,000 troops. In the last stages, numerous civilians commit suicide with the encouragement of Japanese military. 10. Japanese are still resisting on New Guinea. Tokyo is bombed for the first time since the Doolittle raid of April 1942. 11. President Roosevelt announces that he will run for an unprecedented fourth term as U.S. President. 12. Hitler rejects General Field Marshal Walther Model's proposal to withdraw the German forces from Estonia and northern Latvia and retreat to the Daugava River. 13. The Soviets take Vilnius, Lithuania. The Lvov Sandomierz offensive begins. 16. First troops of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force arrive in Italy. 17. Field Marshal Rommel is badly wounded when his car is strafed from the air in France. 18. General Hideki Tojo resigns as chief minister of the Japanese government as the defeats of the Japanese military forces continue to mount. Emperor Hirohito asks General Kuniaki Koizumi to form a new government. Saint Lo, France is taken, and the Allied breakout from Hedro country in Normandy begins. 19. American forces take Leghorn, Italy far up the Italian boot. 20. The July 20th plot is carried out by Klaus von Stauffenberg in a failed attempt to assassinate Hitler. Hitler was visiting headquarters at Rasenburg, East Prussia. Reprisals follow against the plotters and their families, and even include Rommel. 21. U.S. Marines land on Guam. 22. Hitler gives permission to retreat from the Nalva River to the Tannenberg defense line in the Sinamat Hills 20 kilometers west from Narva. 23. The Poles rise up against the Germans in the LWOW uprising. 24. Marines land on Tinian Island, last of the Marianas. Tinian will eventually be a B-29 base, and the base from which the atomic bombers departed. Operation Cobra is now in full swing. The breakout at St. Lo in Normandy with American troops taking Coutances. At the start of the Soviet Narva offensive, July 24–30, the Soviet 8th Army is beaten by the Estonian 45th Regiment and East Prussian 44th Regiment. The Army Detachment Nawa begins to retreat to the Tannenberg Line. Majdanek concentration camp is liberated by Soviet forces, the first among many. The Soviet Union is now in control of several large cities in Poland, including Lublin. U.S. bombers mistakenly bomb American troops near St. Lo, France. 26. The first aerial victory for a jet fighter occurs, with a Me-262 of the Luftwaffe's EKDO-262 damaging a de Havilland Mosquito reconnaissance aircraft of the Royal Air Force's No. 540 Squadron RAF. The Leningrad Front's Nalva offensive captures the town, the 27th of July to the 10th of August. Battles on the Tannenberg Line. At the start of the battles there are 25 Estonian and 24 Dutch, Danish and Flemish infantry battalions on the German side at the Nalva front. The artillery forces, and the tank, engineer and other special units are composed mainly of Germans. The attack by the Soviet armed forces is stopped. Tens of thousands of men are killed in both sides. 28. The Red Army take Brest-Litovsk, the site of the Russo-German peace treaty in World War I. The first operational use of the Me-163B Comet rocket fighter occurs by units of JG-400 in defense of the lunar synthetic fuel facilities. The Third Reich's largest synthetic fuels complex. 29. A decisive day in the Battle of Narva, allowing the German Army Detachment (NAWA), including Estonian conscript formations, to delay the Soviet Baltic offensive for another 1.5 months.